we get stuck into today's topic?
Let's do it.
So today we're going to talk about procrastination. And I was really keen that we talk about this because it's something that so many of my clients and people I know, including myself, struggle with.
100%.
We all, in lots of ways, know what we need to do to achieve our goals, but we procrastinate. So we feel like we're procrastinating. So today we're going to talk about why we procrastinate and techniques to help address it. So let's start, because you're the brain science expert. Let's start with, why does the brain procrastinate, or give us the messages that make us procrastinate?
So there's a couple of things going on here. Our brain first of all is quite lazy. It likes what it knows. It doesn't like using like unnecessarily energy. It doesn't like using energy, and so therefore, if it perceives like having to do like a task that's sort of like slightly outside our comfort zone, our primitive brain especially wants us to be safe, but safe and happy are not the same thing. It just wants you to kind of trundle along in its own little way, not disrupting the status quo, and literally just because it likes what it knows, and it doesn't have to flag any kind of like different events that might be like threats to our survival. So it just likes to just sort of trundle along, and then we can get into that space as well with our brain where it's like we start to think, because we've got a great capacity in our brain for imagination, visualization, and there's very little difference between when we imagine something or we do it in real life. Our brain chemically there's very little difference, and so we will start to think about that task. Oh, we've got to do that, and our primitive brain will keep reminding us, and because we get kind of in that space where we get overwhelmed because we think it's always going to be more complex than it's going to be. You know, we tend to get into that space where we're overthinking it. It becomes quite emotional. Well, it's exhausting if we keep thinking about all the things. I feel like, and you please do share your input with procrastination. It's if we've got a lot on, and the more things that come, and the more overwhelmed we feel, the more that procrastination comes in, and the more you sort of want to sort of step back and not engage with anything.
Yes, yeah. I think we get that paralysis from overwhelm. I do think we procrastinate more on the things that are new or just bigger, take up more time and energy.
Yes.
So that's why, we'll talk later about distraction, but that's why I think we might just start fiddling with our to-do list or our email or tidying something, because our brain knows how to do that.
We're in the comfort zone.
In the comfort zone. Yeah. So we procrastinate against things that are big and new. But I do also think that this is maybe getting worse because we're not very clear on when we're being productive and when we're relaxing. Mm-hmm. And we've got this kind of toxic productivity where we feel like every second of the day we should be productive. And that's actually unnatural. So maybe part of the reasons we're procrastinating is our brain just wants us to stop and have a break. And actually, if you dial down the to-do list or give yourself a very clear amount of time to do something in, and we'll come to strategies later, but then you also have proper downtime, I don't think your brain rebels against the to-do list as much as if you're just constantly beating yourself up saying I should do more, and then you're starting a little war in your head about it.
Exactly, and then that really does gather legs and grow momentum, because you'll start going, well, I'm not where I need to be in life, I should be further ahead, I've not done this thing, I'm really unhappy, I want to change this thing, but also this thing. And then we go down what I call into the doom whirlpool, where actually it's like the task is very small, but we've let our primitive brain sort of start running the show. But I do feel like that, like you said about people, how they want a life hack every area of their life. It's like, and I go in the sauna and there's people in there and they're drinking their water and they're reading their book at the time, their self-help book, and they're checking their watch. How long have I done? How much longer can I stand in the heat? And I'm like, okay, bro, like literally, this is not the point of the sauna. It's literally to just like have a nice time and just to sort of like have that deregulations, like that decompression space, you know. But it's like we're not having those clear boundaries. We're watching TV, we're scrolling on the phones, we're texting our friends at the same time. There doesn't seem to be many tasks that we're like truly present in now.
No, I totally agree. And in fact, there was some phenomenon that was talked about recently about double screening, and I thought, what does that mean? said, well, it's when you're doing one thing on one screen and another thing on another screen at the same time. And I was at an event, so I just happened to ask the people who was listening to me talk. I said, okay, well, does anyone do that? Because I don't. And then almost all the hands went up in the room. And a lot of people said they can't watch television without also doing something on their phone or their laptop at the same time, which blew my mind.
Because even like I find, just because you know it doesn't mean you are it, because I will find like times where I'm trying to be on, like, even if I'm out, I'm like, I wish I had another laptop so I could have something playing and watching, and I can work on my laptop and do emails and etc. But it's like how far we've got sucked into this, like we have to be productive, but as humans yes, we need to have purpose, yes, we need to feel like we're making progress, and that's very important for our well-being mentally and physically. But to be productive all the time and to get into that like toxic culture is just not, it's counterproductive. And
it's not actually healthy.
No.
So one of the reasons we're potentially procrastinating is we're overloading ourselves and our to-do list and our expectations. Can you talk a little bit about what happens in someone's brain, like the messaging, like the internal dialogue that happens when people start procrastinating? So maybe their first thought, let's start with me, and I promise this whole podcast won't be about my house, but it's very relevant.
It's good, it's a good relevant example.
It's a very relevant example because I have talk about eating the elephant. I have so much to do here, and so I might think I need to paint that wall. That's the first thought is you think about the thing you need to do, but then what tends to happen in someone's brain that then means they don't do it?
Well, the painting the wall especially if you feel emotionally depleted and you already feel quite like on edge or just like quite down with the weather that keeps going on, as we keep talking about. But it's like, I mean, that might look like something along the lines of, you're like, I've got to paint the wall, right? Have I got the right paint? Where's the paint? I've got to go and get the paint. Where's the paintbrushes? Now I've got to find the tray. Is the tray clean? And then your brain will start trying to figure out all the little steps it needs to do in order for you to actually get to do the task. So it becomes, when we're thinking about it in that much detail, it becomes more overwhelming, and our brain is less likely to want to start, because it's like a lot of expenditure of energy to actually do the tasks now.
So we're amplifying it.
100%.
We're doing this whole internal narrative that makes it seem bigger and more stressful. And I know I sometimes do it with going running, where there's a lot of thought about the weather and right now about how muddy it's going to be and how hard it's going to be.
And then I've got to clean my shoes.
Right.
And I'm going to do the washing when I come back.
So if you listen to that narrative, you definitely wouldn't want to go and do the thing.
Yeah.
What's your recommended strategy for managing that internal dialogue?
Also, I think as well, it's just important to flag about how your brain can show up, and it will be like, to do this thing, it means I've got to do this, and I've got to get going to the gym as well. Perfect example. Got to find my gear, got to find my trainers, got to drive there, got to do a workout. There's going to be loads of people.
Yeah, I can't get on my machine. Yeah,
it's going to be so busy. Oh, it's not the right time. The sun's not at like 45 degrees, you know. And I know I joke, but that is what our brain will do. It will kind of like flag all the things. It can also show up in a lot more clear messaging. If it's not doing the over dramatization of all the steps, it can be like as simple as like, oh, I'm too tired, or I can't be bothered.
Yes.
Yeah, I am too tired. Even sometimes, like, it can make you feel like, even when you like that, when you're on the precipice of starting a task, your brain, if it's unfamiliar, it can feel quite ragey and you can just feel like a rage boil up inside you.
Well, you're angry at having to do the task.
You're just it's like the culmination just before you start of all that, I can't do it, or it's quite overwhelming, and it's just like, it just feels like that everything sort of bubbles to the surface. All that feelings of I'm too tired, I'm kind of forcing myself to do it. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this perceived in our brains. Imagination, there's a lot more to it than there really is in reality, but it's like so it can show up in a couple of different ways. Could you just remind me what the question was?
No, well, you've kind of answered it, but part of it is when you recognize that, or when your brain starts going down that path, what can you do to shift that internal narrative? We're going to talk about, obviously, the practical side of how you get yourself to start taking action.
Yes.
But what can you do mentally to start shifting that thought process?
So first of all, just recognise how it shows up for you. Is it I'm too tired? Is it the rage? Is it the I'm really just like over planning all the paths to how all the things I need to do? And then it's thinking, there's having a little like life jacket. I say to my client, have a little sort of like go-to sentence or a go-to thought, an affirmation. I like it like as a little, I call it the life jacket. Have a
little mental hug.
Exactly, like the brain hug. Have a little sort of statement that you can put on to just remind yourself. It's like acknowledge that this is coming up and just be like, okay, I hear you. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be like, thank you for showing up. It means so much to me. No, it can literally be, okay, I hear you, bro. That's fine. I can hear you. And then the next stage, I like something that works for me is like I have this little visual, and I can link it in the show notes. There's an amazing Instagram account called Band-Aid for the Heart, and it shows very clearly, because our brain loves a visual. It's like the mental weight of thinking about a task, and it's like a bar chart that's like really high compared to the mental like expenditure we have to do to actually do the task, which is tiny. And it just, for me, it just clearly it reminds me, it's like the going back and forth. And given that our brains are quite lazy, it hasn't worked it out that the going back and forth and the making us feel bad is so much more labor intensive than actually just the getting down to it.
So just spotting that you're wasting energy thinking about it, and actually it will be less to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in a second about how we get into that. I want to share a strategy I have that's a bit different to that, and I want to get your take on it, because you might say this, family, it's really unhealthy.
If it works for you.
Well, it does. So something that's very interesting to me is that in the Christian faith, people used to talk about the kind of the devil on their shoulder, and and the devil would be telling them to do things they shouldn't do. And obviously that was also part of when one of the ways to control people when you didn't have a police force was tell them that if you did the wrong thing, God would see you and you'd, die in the fires of hell. So it's obviously very specific, but the idea was that the inner voice that was telling you to cheat on your wife or steal something was the devil. And so that is a way of being able to disidentify from that voice.
Yes.
Now I don't believe in the devil, and I also think the devil's very powerful, so you're also giving that voice a lot of power. But I do sometimes name that voice.
Yes.
And so, as you know, one of my favourite things if I'm struggling is to ask myself if I'm a winner or a quitter.
Yes.
But my internal voice that's sabotaging me, I call it my inner loser.
Love it.
Now, I would never call someone a loser, and I wouldn't call myself a loser. But when I hear the voice saying, don't go for the run, I go, oh, that's my inner loser.
Yeah.
Why would I listen to that? And I'm deliberately making it quite weak. You could call it your inner slouch, your inner slacker, whatever, but I'm deliberately making it quite weak so it's not powerful. And then I say, well, that's what my inner loser's thinking.
Yeah.
What would my inner winner think?
Yes.
If I was a winner, and I don't even think what the action is, I just think, what would the winner think? Well, the winner would think you can definitely go out for a run. Or sometimes if I am actually too tired, the winner would say, stop trying to make this a run, just go for a walk.
Yes.
But I go, what would the winner think? And then I think that thing, and then I take the action as the winner. So I find just like labeling it as something other than me, I can almost dismiss it. Does that make sense?
100%. And just like I said about like when it shows up, you can go, okay, I hear you, bro. It's like that next stage. It's like you're giving that kind of side of your personality that you know doesn't serve you. And like people even name it. I call mine Angelica. After like after the Rugrats, how like
how did I miss the Rugrats?
For those of you that remember the cartoon The Rugrats, it was like Angelica was like one of the siblings, and she was a right brat, and she was like really whiny. So it's like, is this like, if this comes up, I'm like, is this Angelica, or is it the Julia who is doing X, Y, and Z in the future? And it's a really good way of doing it, because you've created like a kind of like story and personality around it, and you've like told your brain that this is not the part that's empowering. But also what you're doing beautifully is you're using that wonderful capacity in your brain to visualize and play things forward in a positive way, and you're asking yourself from your logical brain perspective, what would this like, what would best winner Emilie do?
Yeah, what does Emilie the winner do?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's amazing how effectively that works. You have to get good at first of all, just listening to your internal dialogue and spotting that it's negative. But it doesn't take that long of practicing.
No, not at all.
To do it. Something else that I think is really helpful is making a list of your distraction activities.
Okay.
What are the activities you tend to do when you're procrastinating? When you're avoiding something else, what do you distract yourself with? Is it I put the TV on? Is it I scroll a particular website?
Yeah.
Is it honestly, bizarrely, I clean?
Love it.
Often if I catch myself cleaning, I think, okay, what am I avoiding that I'm cleaning right now? Not when I should be cleaning, but I should be working. So I think also if you spot the things you tend to do to avoid something else, then when you're doing that thing, you can have an honesty moment with yourself and say, oh, I'm doing that thing because I'm avoiding this task that actually is important to do. And you can snap yourself back to it.
Definitely. And you will have like winner Emilie, or like
can we just call me that all the way
winner
through the
Emilie?
podcast
I love
now?
it. That's fine. I'm down with that. But it's like you will, when you're doing, you'll know when you've indulged in like the loser. But I don't think cleaning is loser behaviour. But when you're indulging in that, you will have like that really tiny voice, even if it's tiny, going, I don't know if this is the best use of your time, you know, and you that will come up. So you'll have an inkling of whether you're procrastinating or whether you should actually be cleaning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's being aware for yourself. Yeah. So let's move on to taking action, because one of the things you talk about in the Bad Bitch Reset that's so powerful is that take the first teeny tiny steps. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, and again, what can people do in their brain, what messaging, and what does the tiny action look like to get you moving?
So we will, when it comes to doing the task, the first little tiny step is obviously is usually a lot smaller than we think it is to get to the task. So, and it's also like kind of, if your brain is very like against energy expenditure and it's very against doing the task, but you kind of know you have to do it, it's like just sort of almost coaching yourself like you're talking to a 3-year-old, like coaching yourself through the next tiny task. So if you've got to paint a wall and your brain is really like, I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it, you can just be like, okay, I hear you. Okay, so we're not going to do that for now. We're just going to do the next tiny right thing. So we're just going to find the paintbrushes. We don't have to do any more than that. Okay, now that we've done that, let's just pour the paint in the tray. Okay, great. All right. We don't even have to paint the whole wall. We're just going to paint like a couple of strokes. And then what you find is when you get going, the resistance becomes less, and it's kind of like, you know, when like you were a child and it's like you're in the pool and it's like you can't swim, but then all of a sudden you're just like swimming.
Yeah.
It's like that. You're like,
I'm doing it. It's not that bad.
Exactly. Yes, it is exactly the same.
Absolutely. And I find if I'm doing, particularly if I've got a work task which is going to take a long time, like say I'm planning a new talk, I've got to spend at least 3 hours just structuring and designing it. And so in my head, then that's a big task. And I don't want to do it for 3 hours, and I won't. But for me, it would be just do 5 minutes, or get a pen and paper out, because sometimes I'm even resistant to the laptop. Get a pen and paper out and just mind map what the talk will be for 10 minutes. Yeah. But then my brain's going. So now I'm just off to the races, and now I'm doing it.
Exactly.
But I couldn't get there by telling myself you're going to sit down and plan this entire talk.
Exactly. It's like if it will feel overwhelming, some of the bigger things we have to do. So it's charting it back, and a lot of time that next step is a lot smaller. Like going to the gym, it may just be that you put your trainers by the front door and they stay there for another week or so. You know, it's like just doing the really tiny things. If you're trying to break habits like scrolling online, is the one that I usually use as an example. If you're scrolling for 3 hours a day, then try and do 2 hours and 50 minutes, because it needs to be so small your brain is on board with it. It's so also to think, how likely is it I can do this thing? You want your brain to basically be like, well, it's so flipping easy, why would I not do it?
Why would I not? Yeah. Although I think another angle to it is motivation. So when I'm talking to my clients about procrastination or achieving their goals, I talk about a model I've come up with called OPM.
Yes.
And OPM is like 3 legs to a stool. So if you want to get something done, you need each of these 3 things or it won't happen. So The O stands for get organised. So like you said, if with my painting the wall, I'll share an example in a minute of the tiling, but with painting the wall, it is just get the paint and the paintbrush out.
Yeah.
The P stands for get productive.
Yeah.
So that is that, just take that first tiny step. But the M stands for motivation, because sometimes the task is so unpleasant. Like, I actually love painting, but it might be a task you really don't want to do, but you need to tap into your motivation about where does it get me, with a why, what's the big goal I'm getting to. And so, you know, coming back to kind of the bathroom tiling, first of all, I doubted I could do it, so I was a little bit scared about doing it, but I got organised where I just ordered a tile cutter, got the equipment, got the adhesive, the grout, the tiles, just got it. And to be honest, that sat in the bathroom, I'm going to say, for about 4 weeks, to be honest about it, right? Sat there for 4 weeks. And then you've got to get productive. And for me, because I was a bit scared of it, I just said, just go and cut one tile and then leave the bathroom if it's too much.
Perfect.
But actually the tile went well, so I carried on. But the motivation aspect is I keep coming back to my Pinterest vision board of what my house will look like when it's all finished and all the images I've captured. And I use that to keep me motivated, when otherwise you could look at the whole project and just go, well, it's just too much, I'm not going to get there, and get easily overwhelmed. So if you're struggling, as well as obviously getting organised and taking that small action, just stop and think about, what's the bigger goal? How am I going to feel? How's my life going to be better when I achieve that thing overall? Delivering that talk that I did in Frankfurt, the vision I had was being in the room with everybody and having had a positive impact on them, and everyone having a really great conversation with each other. And there was a moment when I was actually doing the thing, and I'd put everyone in a breakout, and there was such amazing conversations, I had to quite loudly interrupt them, and I realised the thing I'd visualised as my motivation was happening.
Love it. That's amazing. And yes, it's motivation, willpower, motivation, all these things will wane. So if you have a visual reminder that you can tap back into very easily, like that beautiful Pinterest vision for your house, that will, it's like, just as a reminder to your brain, it sometimes needs that, this is why we're doing the thing. And primitive brain will be like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's a bit like having a teenager.
100%. It is literally like that. And sometimes another little thing that's very good is putting on a time, like you said, 10-minute timer, Pomodoro timer, 20-minute, 25-minute timer. You can find it online if you just Google Pomodoro, and I can put a link in the show notes. I also really like, so in Top Gun Maverick,
great reference to bring in at this point.
I know. He has this thing. I mean, he has this phrase. It says, "Don't think, just do." Now, obviously, I'm not advocating going and just not doing like shady behaviour or like obnoxious stuff or anything risky, but there is a lot in what he says. It's like, if you can get ahead and be like, if you've got a statement that you can just tell your brain, don't think, just do. It's kind of like that motivation that you need to take the first step.
Yeah, just take that first tiny step.
The first tiny step, because it's like that. If you can get ahead of the, I don't want to do it, it's too much, I don't know if I can cut a tile, etc. You are literally, you're just getting into the flow, and your brain is like, okay, I guess we're doing this, and away we kind of get into it, and you are in that sort of the best state, the flow state of your brain almost, where you can figure things out, and you are tapping into that wonderful ability your brain has to propel you forward.
And I think, you know, sometimes it's, you're just procrastinating because you don't like the task. If it's something you're afraid of, I know it sounds weird to be afraid of tiling, but afraid of messing it up. One of the approaches I also did was I did it in stages. So then I cut a few tiles and put them up, and I honestly thought, I'm going to see if they're still up on the wall tomorrow. I'm not going to do the whole thing and wait for it to go wrong. And then I went back, I honestly was pleasantly surprised. They were still up, they still look good. So I also broke that down and said, okay, I'm not going to do it all at once because I'm worried about the results. So I think sometimes a bit of procrastination is also a bit of risk management. And it doesn't mean that you just like run through the fire. Also recognize, okay, is my brain trying to manage a risk? And then go, okay, what is the risk? I had it with a client recently where they were avoiding spending time with one of their teams. And when we went through the risk, they said the risk they were worried about was that their team was going to judge them negatively. But actually them avoiding the team was making them judge them negatively. So it was kind of circular.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
But it was really interesting because I said, okay, you're stressed about this, so let's figure out what is the lion at the entrance to the cave. Let's get very clear on what the thing is that you're actually afraid of.
Yes.
And then let's take some action that mitigates for that.
Beautiful.
So if your procrastination is around fear, just really ask yourself, okay, what am I trying to avoid here?
Yes.
What am I worried about? Is that something I can mitigate for, or just maybe even just recognizing that fear will help you move forward?
That's amazing. I really love that, in terms of just like identifying what can we, because again, brain wants to be safe. So if we can make our brain feel safer and happier, we're more likely to do it, do the task, and then we can that's demonstrating to our brain that we can do it, and we're more likely to find a smoother path to our actions next time.
And this is why I tiled my own bathroom.
I love it. What a win.
What
I love
a win.
it.
And it looks great. It turned out
Yes.
well. I think that's a fantastic place to end. So for those of you listening, if you are procrastinating, take that first teeny tiny step, make it so small that it's almost imperceptible, and you'll get the ball rolling.
And please do share your wins with us. We love to hear your wins. And similarly, if you have anyone that you think would benefit from hearing about this little episode on procrastination, please do share it with them. And we'll see you next time.